Conan the Barbarian, issue 243. I gotta say, I've never read any of these Marvel comic Conan books from back in the day, but damn, after reading 242 and this one, I wish that I would have gotten into this a lot earlier in my comic quest, as it were. We went over 242, and we got onto that one because I just randomly found it at a garage sale and did not realize that was one of Jim Lee's early covers, but that didn't negate the fact that the interior art was just as gorgeous. And after I read it, I was just tied. I was hooked on the story, so I had to read the next part. So this is part 3 of the Sorcerer and the She-Devil. Now I'm going to go back and try to find part 1, because this little 3-part arc, from what I'm seeing, is absolutely amazing. So let's dive into this. The print date on this was April 1991. And even just diving right into the dialogue, listen to just, after going through that X Factor book, which I'm still trying to get the taste out of my mouth, which we will be getting into more of that later, but just listen to the way that the editor and everybody worked together to create this really enticing dive in, because they used to give these little read-offs in the beginning of all the books in the 90s and the 80s, and I loved it. Now listen to this. Between the years when the oceans drank Atlantis and the rise of recorded history, there was an age undreamed of. Hither came a Cimmerian, sword in hand, a thief, a reaver, a slayer, with gigantic melancholies and gigantic mirth, to tread the jeweled thrones of the earth under his sandaled feet. Conan the Barbarian. We do not get introductions like that anymore, guys, and I miss it, because it just at least gave you a flavor of what the characters were and why they were so badass, and why, again, when you're telling a story, why we care. So last issue, he's trying to save Red Sonja from the shackles of Lord Zelron or Elron, I forget how to pronounce it, but you come to find out, spoilers if you haven't read it, so make sure to pause this video, go check out the review, get the comic, read it, come back, and you're back. Elron essentially wants to wed Red Sonja because his father, who is essentially a demigod, is possessing him, and they want to marry Sonja, have a child through her, so that Zukala, I believe is his name, can be reborn on this earth. So basically his son is just his tool. And towards the end of it, when Conan tries to crash the wedding, he is sent off to sort of a purgatory type hell reality. And then you're thinking, okay, after the next issue, you're going to open up and we're going to see what's happened. We get a quiet moment. Conan wakes up. He goes, what? Oh, only the morning sun. But where? Where in Crom's doom shrouded heaven am I? This chamber looks like, no, it can't be that. To believe so would be to tread the slippery shoals of madness. Ha! At last I'll see where. By Mitra, I've seen this shoreline before. It's the jungles of the Black Coast. And so after we see this beautiful sunrise, we see an off-panel voice saying, and why shouldn't it be, my love? Now, this woman's name I have a hard time pronouncing. I think it's Belit, but essentially, he is shocked. But before we get into why that's such a shocker, let's talk about who made this book. This is Roy Thomas writer, Gary Hartle doing the penciling, Mike DeCarlo doing the inks, Mike Heisler the letterer, Neil Yomtov the colorist, Mike Rockowitz was the editor, and Tom DeFalco editor-in-chief. So we have some big names on this book. And I love that it says featuring characters created by Robert E. Howard. So I'm glad that they made sure to include that little bit of information for readers. So Billet apparently was a woman that he was madly in love with, and she was killed. And so he's just like, so all these years have just been a nightmare. She's like, I saw you die. I burned your body. She goes, I'm fortunate you didn't walk in your sleep and set me afire in the waking world. Still, it seemed so real, your death at the hands of a winged ape, your ghost returning to help me slay it. Is this the kiss of a ghost? He's like, so these past few years, instead that were the nightmares, wandering the world without my Belette, my pirate queen of the Black Coast. So in a minute, it kind of hits you in the feels. You're like, wow. And before Conan can love her, for lack of a better term, their boat is, ransacked. And I love how Conan says, I must admit, woman, if I cannot be loving you at this moment, then this is what I would want most to be doing. So it just kind of reminds me of Conan, what is best in life, and it just, that little bit just helps. So he starts saying, I've seen faces that I thought I would no longer see. Now, I don't want to give away what happens in all of this, but we come to find out that it was Jagata Noga, I think is how you pronounce his name, but he is picking at Conan's memories to torment him as he promised. And I just love these up-close facial expressions. But that means no! And we see that he is now being tortured, tied to this rock, all these thorns wrapping him. Welcome, mortal. Welcome to Jagata Noga's lost land, which pulses and throbs between the heartbeats of man's unsuspecting sphere. Damn, I miss storytelling like this, guys. Man, do I miss comic books from the 90s and 80s. Ugh, such gorgeous artwork, beautiful facial expressions. Now remember, 91, yeah, digital art was starting to come on the scene, but it was still a hand-done craft. So you can still see all the elements that made comics amazing back in the day. He explains how he cannot harm Conan yet because he is still under the direction of, what is his name? Elron. Okay, there it is, Elron. At the sight of Elron and his godling sire DeCarlo hovering wraith-like, you strain anew at your thorny shackles, do you not? It has been many an eon since I'd had so divine a captive to toy with. You shall shed oceans of blood before I let you die. And so Conan's trying to figure out how he can escape from this. And what I love is the more that the demon punishes him, we just see the power of Conan and all his Sumerian might as he tears from his shackles. And Jagata Noga, or how you pronounce his name, is just taken back by how Conan could just rip himself free, escape. And I don't want to give away everything that happens while he's in this demon reality, but the fight is absolutely astounding. And we come to find out towards the end of the book that Red Sonja is feeling used on so many levels. Now remember, the priest, Caranthus, that was being sent to Castle Zucala along with Sonja and Conan, he plays a bigger part in this whole story. So guys, Conan 243, 242, and I believe the first part of the Sorcerer and the She-Devil is 241. This is a great little, I don't want to say it's not a murder mystery, but mystery and intrigue. Because I can't say poor, but Elron here, whew, even though he's evil, man, does he get played for a fool. And Conan, too, he has ran through the coals through this three-part story. And Sonja is such a wild card. You don't know what's really going on with her till the end. And what makes this particular issue shine for me is how, even though Conan has lost so much, the woman he loved, his crew, he's still able to find that Cimmerian, whatever you want to pronounce it, strength to rip free and actually slay this demon in his dimension. So it shows that he's just not some brute. And it also shines when he gets into a sword fight with Elron, and Elron saying, my sword fighting is finesse. What can you say about your Cimmerian brute strength? And as he's fighting, he says, I have been many places since that gloomy hill that I grew up on, and I've learned many different styles. So it shows that Conan, kind of like Wolverine, he's a brute and has strength, but he also has brains and can outsmart his opponent. Every character has a role to play in this, and again, just the traditional artwork. Even when you see Zucala here, you just feel that nod to Jack Kirby in the way that we just see this wraith type entity possessing his son. So guys, if you want some badass sword play, great storytelling, beautiful artwork, and some mystery, I highly recommend that you pick up all three parts of the Sorcerer and the She-Devil. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever there's going to get your action figures and comics and grab this series. If you've enjoyed this review, Really would appreciate if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little Sumerian bell, next subscribe. That way, as I continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below or the socials, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.